Welcome to our third insane movie. From 2000, we watched Pollock. This riveting biopic follows the life of tortured alcoholic painter Jackson Pollock and two women who made his storied art career possible.
True, I
Mostly
guess.
focuses on one woman who makes it possible, but whatever. Goddamn, what do we like about this movie?
Ed Harris.
Ed Harris, yeah. He's...
The guy directed this movie and was the star of this movie. And Ed Harris is a genius, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really good.
He is one of Erin's most bangable guys that she would really like to...
Interesting. He's an older guy, but, yeah.
See his fucking arms?
Yeah, dude.
What was that dude doing? You never saw him doing anything. It's, what's this over here?
yeah,
Come
his
on.
biceps
Come
were
on.
A little
massive.
bit, yeah.
From painting. Come on.
Carrying lifting paint buckets.
I guess.
You know?
That fucking guy.
That's what artists use, right?
One of my major likes, I like, one of my favorite classes in college, I really liked art in general, but I really like the art history classes. And just seeing, like, the progression through his career, I'm going to sound kind of pretentious, kind of like everybody in this movie that talks about art. I think I might actually prefer his earlier stuff, like the more abstract, not paint splattery. Like, I really like the paint splatter stuff he does. It's really cool. Like, and it seems like really dumb. Anybody could do that. But you look at the complexity of it after it's done and, like, the layering of the colors and everything. Yeah, like, it's one of those things, like, no, that dude in his brain, like, his brain was wired to do that. But
He's a fucking prodigy.
But his earlier stuff was also really good. Like, it was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little bit easier to process because you can actually kind of see forms in it.
But
Yeah.
but a lot of his early stuff was imitation of
Yeah,
other really
of
good
other-
artists at
yeah.
the time, and his breakthrough stuff was really when he got to doing the splatter and stuff like that. But it does show that he's more than just a guy that can drop paint on a canvas.
Exactly.
Which a lot of people pejoratively talk about him as just being I could paint that kind of thing.
It's like, well, I guess maybe you could, but you probably can't. You could probably do something that approximates that, but you couldn't do anything with that kind of... It wouldn't have the same, like, visual impact. Like, and apparently, like, from what I can tell, his paintings were huge, too. So he's doing this on a very large scale, which is really hard. So, one of the things... I liked his wife. As much as I hated his wife in the movie, also, well...
It's played by Marisha Gay Harden.
Yeah.
How you say her name?
I liked her, even though, like, super pretentious, and kind of, like, even though she hated the alcoholic side of him, she kind of, like, drove, like, the worst parts of him, which you notice later on. He's so obsessed about his career. Like, he's one of those guys that you think he would just create to create, like a lot of artists do, but he is so hungry for it. Like, he wants to make it. And she really drives, like, she wants that. And you just see them at one point, his family comes over, and they're just, like, they won't shut up about, oh, this magazine says this and this person says that. And none of the other people care. They're just there to hang out with him. And so she really drives, like, that part, like, that bad part of him. And he's got his alcoholism, which comes and goes, and eventually...
I don't know that she drives the bad part of him. I think she drives the driven part of him.
Yeah.
In a
She
good
tries
way.
to keep him on track, but she's also, like, she herself is so into that, like, him making it, which is weird because I thought there was going to be a point where she became really jealous because she's an artist too, but she doesn't get the recognition, and her stuff's good.
Later in her life, she actually did become
As we find out,
after he died.
Yeah.
well known. But I think what happens is she recognizes the brilliance in his work before a lot of other people do, and she understands that, well, whatever I'm doing is secondary at this point because this guy is a genius, and I need to do everything I can to make sure that his genius gets out in the world. And I think it's a very compelling relationship that they have. It has its ups and downs in the movie.
Very complex.
Yeah.
But I do agree that, like, Ed Harris and Marisha Gay Harden, who plays the wife, I think that they're really good in this movie.
They act the shit out of it.
They steal the movie.
Nail it.
Just nonstop.
And the other thing I like about this movie is that it works very well as a movie. A lot of times biopics don't necessarily work very good over like a 3-act or a 4-act structure. There's no kind of ebb and flow a lot of times to a life, or a lot of time, it's really hard to tell a movie about somebody's life in a compelling way.
That's what tend to. I find a lot of biopics really sugarcoat a lot of stuff too. And there is none of that in this movie.
No. But this
Or
one,
if they did, I mean, God, how much worse was his life if this was the sugarcoating of his life?
But this movie is compelling and has a very good narrative to it, but at the same time, it doesn't really sacrifice the truth or the facts of his life, which is.
And that's a neat thing, I think. I have to imagine artists love this movie, as far as art movies go, just because it's so genuine in that regard. And also, it talks about the complexity of being an artist and scraping by and just barely being able to make ends meet. And
As an artist. Just kidding. Sorry, go ahead.
But you also see the uppity, pretentious people that they have to deal with, and it is just...
It's rough,
It's
man.
unbelievable. I can't imagine. I've never been into abstract art by any means, but I just can't imagine being like a struggling artist, loving your craft and having to deal with that. It just must be miserable.
My brain can't, and this is something I dealt with last night when I was trying to, because I was telling you earlier, I was painting and I didn't have any idea really what I wanted to do, and I've never done abstract, and I've kind of tried before. My brain doesn't work that way. Like, just throwing shit down, like there needs to be some kind of order, which is really weird because I would think, because my brain is usually so all over the place, I would think of just, oh yeah, just throw down some shit. Abstract art is hard. Like, even those people you see that they just throw down, like, oh, here's a yellow square. It's like, I bet they fucking worked on that for goddamn ever.
Well, it's like you were saying earlier. You know, you think people look at that and they think, oh, that can't be. Anyone can do that. Anyone can just splatter paint on there.
Go for it.
But there's obviously more behind his paintings. I mean, you see this guy staring at a blank canvas for
weeks.
months.
Yeah, months.
At a time. And then suddenly one day it pops into his brain and he just goes. And one thing I really liked about this movie, specifically that first scene where he just freaking nails this canvas, was the score in this movie is really, really good.
It's really good music.
Awesome music. That it complements everything very well.
Yeah, I think Ed Harris is such I really do feel like Ed Harris is such an artist himself, in the sense that he just understands how to put together a movie. I think every little bit about this movie works well. It's great to look at. The sound is great. The music is great. The portrayal of Jackson Pollock. I mean, you believe that he's a painter. I mean, because you show a lot of him painting. Yeah. He did all the painting in this movie. And it looks very factual and correct, and it works. And the guy is brilliant as a filmmaker, and it's fun to indulge that or just watch that.
It's so crazy for me. Well, and I've got two things to say. It's really crazy for me seeing somebody who will act in a movie and direct it and do such a goddamn ridiculous job at both. Like, that seems like it would be really hard. Like. Yeah. Like, you see a lot of people that direct the movies that they're in, and it's like, okay, well, both are pretty good. Mm-hmm. But he's really good. And I put this challenge out to you guys and to anybody listening. Name a bad Ed Harris role. Like, a role that he... Not in a bad movie, because I'm sure he's been in bad movies. But name a role that he did poorly. You can't. It doesn't exist. Like, he's one of those people... Impossible for him to do something poorly, because he doesn't do that. Ed Harris doesn't have to ask anything. I really liked when they were showing the movie that was being made about him, and even just watching like the framing and everything that was there, and him taking direction, like Jackson Pollock taking directions from this man, and
he was filming a documentary.
Yeah, filming a documentary about him, and he was like, you could tell that he's such an artist that everything he did was very much like. He's compelled to do it. He's not doing it so that, okay, well, here's the beginning and the end.
He has 2 years.
Yeah, he's on or he's off.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no cut.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't cut.
So he keeps getting told cut by this guy, and it's like you can't. It's like, no, when I start something, like, it is going a certain direction, and it's not done until I'm finished with it. And he keeps getting told cut.
And when he's finished, he's finished.
Yeah.
He's not going back.
Put a fucking bow on it. Yeah. It's done.
I like the way that it does a really slick job of explaining it in a way. I mean, it doesn't, like, give you this this is what Jackson Pollock was all about. But it gives a good frame of reference, even if you don't know anything about art. It explains it in a way that is, people can access it a little bit better than if you just walked up to his painting, in a museum. It gives a little insight into why his art was the way it was, and I appreciate how slickly they did that. They didn't do it in a way that was too glib, but they did it effectively, and I think that's a credit to whoever wrote this movie.
Indeed. What don't we like about it?
The final chapter in his life, Jennifer Connelly showed up in the last 20 minutes or so of this movie.
As his mistress?
Yeah, as his mistress. And I'm not sure if that's, just chronologically what happened, and that's why that was such a small section in this movie. But it seemed like maybe she was a bigger part of his life. I mean, she was there when he died.
Well, that's the thing is, I think it was just like he really shacked up with her at the very end, so that's why it was such a small part. But it was such an important part to how it ended.
But they kind of went from him being a genius to 5 years of alcoholism, and they just kind of said 5 years later. It might have been kind of neat to see him spiral down into that. Might have been really disturbing also. Yeah. So, I mean, who knows? Who's to say? But
maybe there are no records of that time.
I thought there could have been a little bit more explanation, but that's pretty picky again. I thought on a whole this is pretty awesome. Should we rate this?
Yeah, let's rate Pollock, because I really have nothing bad to say about this fucking movie.
Yeah, I came in thinking this was a 4, and I think I bumped my opinion up to a 4.5. I think this is a pretty solid-ass movie, and as far as art movies go, easily the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you might just talk me up myself. I was going to come in with a 4 as well. I think I'm going to go 4.5.
I was coming in with a 4.5, and I'm going to stay there. I won't bump it up to 5. But this is a goddamn great movie. One of the you really get the full grasp of his insanity in this. It's just really well portrayed, and the camera work and the way and the acting and every part of the movie. This is one of the. This isn't the first artist biopic I've seen. Basquiat's another really good one. If you wanted to see a crazy ass art biopic, this might actually be my. I'm just gonna blanket statement. This might be my favorite biopic I've seen, that I can think of anyway. Really good, really solid, really depressing. Watch it with someone you love.